So what is Cypress? Cypress is a JavaScript-based test automation tool and framework for web developers. You can use Cypress to write automated tests for the website you're currently working on. Now, you can use Cypress for automated testing in two main ways. You can use it to write so-called end-to-end tests, and you can also use it to write so-called component tests, though this course here will be about end-to-end tests. Now, the idea behind end-to-end tests is that you have automated tests that test entire application flows. For example, the user authentication flow, where a user enters data into some input fields, hits the enter key, and then is logged in. You might want to test whether this entire flow works correctly, and you could write an end-to-end test with help of Cypress to do just that. And indeed, this exact flow will be one of the many examples we will take a look at throughout this course. Now, component tests are about testing individual UI elements, individual UI building blocks. For example, you could test if a modal overlay component works and looks correctly. You can write these kinds of tests with Cypress as well, though this course will be about Cypress for end-to-end testing, not for component tests. Nonetheless, what you learn in this course will also help you if you then decide to also take a look at component tests thereafter. End-to-end testing is all about testing these complete flows. That could be such a user authentication flow. It could also be that you want to test whether to-do items are added correctly to your to-do list. So you want to test those entire application flows. And understanding the idea behind end-to-end tests is crucial because you might also know another form of automated tests, and that would be unit tests or unit testing. I do also have a course on unit testing because that is also another important form of testing, but it's crucial to understand the differences between these two approaches and when to use which approach. It's important to understand that these two approaches are both important and are not really alternatives to each other, but instead should best be used in conjunction. The idea behind unit testing, as you also learn in my dedicated unit testing course if you want to, is that you test small individual building blocks of an application. For example, whether a given function works as intended. The idea, however, is that you don't test the combination of components or functions so that you don't test entire flows, but that you test the individual building blocks instead, and you therefore can ensure the correct functionality of those individual units. However, of course, with unit tests alone, you can't ensure that those units work correctly once they're being combined. So unit tests don't guarantee the functionality of the overall system. And therefore, that's where end-to-end testing comes into play. Unit testing is important to test your individual building blocks and find errors early when those blocks break. But you then also have end-to-end testing to test those complete application workflows as mentioned, like that login flow. And therefore, with end-to-end testing, you can ensure the overall functionality of the entire app or of those key application processes and workflows. With end-to-end testing, you're not necessarily covering all possible combinations of those different units, but you of course try to cover the most important workflows and features of your application. And combined with unit testing, you hopefully achieve a state of automated testing in a given project that allows you to cover all major building blocks and flows and catch errors and bugs early.